Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and thank you for joining me on this beautiful Sunday, April the 25th. We have a terrific 7-game slate today in the NBA, and it's broken into two nice playable slates, a 3-game day slate, early only, and a 4-game evening slate, which is the main slate on both FanDuel and DraftKings. Um, Come to see us at DFS Coach Talk if you want to get involved in both. This podcast will post Sunday morning. Plenty of time to go to dfscoachtalk.com. Sign up, even if it's just for a 3-day trial membership. It's only $10. You can get all of our picks today for the NBA and MLB, and we'd love to have you. All right, we're going to dive right into this and get this figured out so that we can take down 2 slates today rather than 1. I like when we have multiple games in both slates. It doesn't happen all that often, so let's take advantage of it. All right, the first game on the slate is the Boston Celtics versus the Charlotte Hornets. Boston is 32-28, Charlotte 29-30. And we have Boston an 8-point favorite. The over-under a pretty low 213, certainly not a target game. A lot of that is based on pace. Boston's 21st, Charlotte 18th. And from a defensive side, right in the average zone with Boston 13 and Charlotte 17. As far as injury news for this first game on the slate, the big boy Williams is out for Boston. And then we have the foursome of Ball, Hayward, Monk, and Darling, all 4 still out for Charlotte. So it's looking as though, let's look at the probable lineups as they sit here this Sunday morning. Kemba playing back in Charlotte, so that should be a little narrative we want to follow. Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Tristan Thompson. And then on the Charlotte side, it's looking as though it will be Devontae Graham, Terry Rozier, Cody Martin, Miles Bridges, and PJ Washington. They have tried some different stuff in the inside there with Carey, and then played a little bit of Zeller the last go around. Bismack's out of the rotation, but I do not trust that whole rotation situation right now for Charlotte. Couple of things here that we mentioned. Kemba going against Devontae Graham defense in Charlotte, where he was a star for multiple seasons. Certainly is in play here. I know it's not a high numbers game here as far as the over/under, but you got to think Kemba is going to really show out there. A lot of family, friends, and folks that he was really close to there in Charlotte. Not his first time against the Hornets, of course, but still has to give you definitely some excitement if you're Kemba, being the early solo game that gets all the attention. I think that Kemba is certainly in play here. Marcus Smart, maybe his price is up though. And then generally in a game like this where it's expected to be somewhat low scoring and both Brown and Tatum are in, I have a tendency to avoid both of them. If one of them's out, it's always strong to go to the other one. I mean, the statistics show even if Kemba and Marcus are in there, the majority of the go-to buckets are Brown and Tatum. And when one of them sits, the other one gets the majority of that responsibility. So for me, I'm not going to go there in this game. So probably no exposure to the Boston side except for Kemba. And then on the Charlotte side, it's pretty interesting. I think Rozier is a guy that I've been on recently. His price has been sort of high, but he's paid off. But not comfortable against Marcus Smart defense there. I'm sure that will be the assignment for him, and not going to go in that direction. Is Cody Martin going to start again? We don't know. He's Not a bad value play, but he's not guaranteed the minutes. Like I say, there is quite a rotation there of guys getting in. So not much exposure to game one in this early 3-game set. I expect to be pretty far behind initially because everybody seems to like to jump on that first game and get out to a lead. But in this scenario, I don't think it's a wise decision. And as I always preach to our members, it does not matter what order the games are on, what time they're on, all of that stuff. You have to evaluate the game for the game and the matchups, not the time of the game. So we are going to stay with probably just Kemba exposure and go to a really nice game 2. It starts at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. It's the Phoenix Suns at 42-17 against the Brooklyn Nets at 40-20. We've got Brooklyn favored by 1.5 at home. It's a 232 over under. So primo game here, one of the higher lines for a Phoenix game all season. As far as pace goes, Phoenix is only 26. They generally try to take control of that element and try to make it a half-court game. But we know Brooklyn likes to push the ball, and they have 2 of their 3 studs back, it looks, as of right now, with Kyrie and KD. So they're going to try to push the pace. They're right now sitting at 12th. Defensive efficiency, Phoenix is 5th, so that'll be a challenge for Brooklyn. Brooklyn is 22nd. So there's a diversity of powers at B here. You've got stronger D wanting to play half court in Phoenix, and a strong offense wanting to push the ball and get shots in transition. So Vegas obviously thinks Brooklyn has the heads up on that battle with this 232 number. It is the biggest number on, it's the second biggest number on the morning slate. This next game is also huge. You'll find the evening games tonight are all in the 220s. So we're not going to have any of that magic over 230 number in the main slate. All right, let's look at the injuries here, and there are quite a few. Out for Phoenix are Saric, Crowder, Galloway, and Nader. And then for Brooklyn, we have Claxton and Chiozza out. And then Tyler Johnson and KD are probable. So it looks as though they will slide into that lineup. The probables right now are Paul, Booker, Bridges, Johnson, and Ayton against Irving, Harris, KD, Jeff Green, and DeAndre Jordan. We know that center spot has been tough to figure out for Brooklyn. It's sort of been a mix between DeAndre Jordan when Claxton's in, but he's out. And then you're getting Blake Griffin there. Jeff Green will move from the 4 to the 5 at times. So not a real solidified spot. And, that's a bit of a concern. Now with Kyrie and KD in there, they're both very expensive. And, that's going to be the tough part with these teams like Brooklyn, even when Harden comes back. All 3 guys are priced extremely high because they've each played as the solo star when the other 2 have sat in this rotation that they've had together. So, you're going to have an overpriced situation where you really can't afford 2 of them very much. Now, this is a 3-game slate, so there is the possibility of doing that. I'm not going to go that direction, though. I'm going to try to have good exposure on both sides of the ball. KD, as far as a minutes limit, we'll see where he stands. We're gonna keep checking the news this morning. He generally, though, when he plays, he generally gets a good run. They hold him out until he's like completely ready, and then he gets 28 to 30 minutes, which isn't full game, but that's what I have him marked at for now, and I'll do a little bit more homework on that. And then but for me, I definitely want either KD or Kyrie. I believe I'm going to go Kyrie in a lot of my cash games, may play a little KD in the GPPs, but I think Kyrie's minutes are safe. I think this game stays pretty close. I know Chris Paul's defense is good, and that makes me a little concerned, but he's playing so well. And the fact that, KD is going to be back out on the floor, his presence to take the defensive onus off of everybody attacking Kyrie, I think is going to open up even more for him. So definitely want exposure on that side of the ball. On the Phoenix side, I like Chris Paul here. I think that he's going to embrace this game. It's the only game that starts at that time. It's big, big game against Brooklyn, bunch of stars, and he's playing terrific ball. He went on that stretch, and I've said it a couple times on these podcasts, but nobody's talking about it. But the dude went 4 games with 43 assists and 1 turnover. That doesn't happen. That's not possible, but he did it. And that's the kind of control he's playing with. He's just, the ball's on a string for him. He's doing whatever he wants, and he's really, really playing well. I don't think Devin Booker's a bad play either. I mean, if you really could go with both stars. You could go Paul Booker versus Kyrie Durant, or any mixing and matching of that. I'm, as of now, like I say, leaning to Paul and Irving, but still have some time to read some news and double check some things. But I think with this total, I think Brooklyn does control enough of the pace that it can pay off. And those are really the spots I want to go. Mikal Bridges will have his hands full with KD. I don't believe he'll be able to focus on his offensive game when he's got to really get after it that way. Cam Johnson's getting a lot of minutes because, the guys that were scooping minutes from him, like Sarge and Crowder, are out. So Cam is extremely cheap. If you need a value guy, if no other value opens up here this morning, he's a legit play. I mean, he could play that 28 to 30 minutes and get you some numbers. If he's open, he'll knock the 3 down. Not a huge ceiling by any stretch, but a decent floor with Crowder and Sarge and some of these guys out. So he's in consideration for me. Not a DeAndre Ayton fan. He disappoints more than he, shows up. I do like the pace, though, the pace up for him. And when he gets to go against a little bit smaller centers, if Griffin and Jeff Green get a run at the 5, he will, have an advantage there. It just seems that he's hard to trust. And his ceiling is there, but it's not phenomenal like we thought it would be when he first came into the league. So not a terrible play. The matchup is a better one for him, but probably not going to go there, especially the sites that's only like FanDuel with 1 center. But Ayton will get a look for me in the multiple center lineups with Yahoo and DraftKings. All right, game 3. It is at 4:00. It's the 3rd game of that early only slate. It is the Memphis Grizzlies at 30-28 at the Portland Trailblazers at 32-27. It is the first night of a back-to-back for Memphis. They've come off some really hard, tough playing games where they've come right down to the wire. Guys are playing big minutes. But Memphis is the team that scares me now. As a Mavs fan, we're looking at all these 6 through 12 where they're seated right now, because we know that 7 through 10 is going to be in that play-in, and there's a lot of shuffling going on. And Memphis is right in the mix there, and they're dangerous. Now, when they get their full squad together and healthy, which they haven't had for a single game all season, because Triple J just came back. He's played 2 or 3 games, and Jovel's been out. So when they're able to put that whole squad on the floor, if it's Ja Morant, Dylan Brooks, Kyle Anderson, Triple J, and Jovel, with Grayson Allen and some of that really good bench mixed in there, they're a dangerous team, especially the way Jaw's playing. However, with today's game, this is the big news, and we need this because this could be a smash spot that will get probably 5 of my spots on the early slate if these guys are definitely out. Triple J is. Jaren Jackson Jr. is already rolled out, and Jonas Valanciunas is questionable. So if Joe Val sits, then we've got a huge discussion here. So we'll look at it both ways. On the Portland side, the thing with Memphis too is this total's 235, and Portland's favored by 4.5, which is very interesting. So that line is the way it is because of the possibility of how many people are sitting for Memphis. But we need that news. And then on the pace side, Memphis is 8th and Portland is 20th. And defensive efficiency, Memphis is also 8th in that category. So again, they play a full game on both sides of the floor. And what excites you here to make this your stack game is Portland's 29th, and we know they're not defending well. The only injury report for Portland is Jones Jr. on the questionable, as a questionable tag. So again, if let's say Joe Val sits, with Triple J out, and then all of a sudden Brandon Clark's a huge play, Kyle Anderson is a huge play, and then I think Ja Morant, the way he's playing, he's my favorite point guard on this slate, going against Lillard and McCollum, who don't defend well. And this last 5, 6, 10 games that I've seen Ja play, it's really coming together. He doesn't look like a rookie anymore. I know it's his second year, but it's taken that time frame, with the bubble and everything that went on and the lost games and the shorter season this year. It's harder to judge these guys because this specific situation has never happened in the history of the NBA. So, it's a different judgment period. But what I like to see with the rookies that are really good is, when do they cross that barrier and become a great young player, a rookie of the year kind of guy, to a real star that's going to make all-star teams and carry his team into the playoffs? And what I've seen the last couple of weeks from Ja, he's turned that corner. He's shooting the 3 better, which was a huge problem for him his first season, and his playmaking decisions. And as far as his quickness getting to the basket, very few, maybe him, De'Aaron Fox, John Wall from maybe 5 years ago. Those are some of the fastest, maybe the 3 fastest guys getting to the basket that I think we have in this league. So very dangerous against Portland defense that's pretty bad in the backcourt. So Ja's at the top of my list. And again, based on Joe Val, if Joe Val plays, knowing the way they run their organization, he'll be on a minutes restriction. So I won't go there. But if he sits, which I hope he does, because then I want to attack with Clark, Anderson, and Brooks. Look at those 3 guys and see what combination of them I want to play, because there's going to be a lot of rebounds to be had. And then on top of that, if he does sit, then, we get Xavier Tillman, who's been terrific. I mean, he's undersized, but man, has he been good. And, he becomes into consideration with those guys as well. If Joe Val plays on that, 20 minutes or whatever, that obviously eliminates Tillman and puts a couple of the other guys in play. So we got to watch that news on Joe Val. That'll be a key to this afternoon slate. And I will build a few lineups, specifically my hybrid lineup, with some flexibility, so that in that late game, I'll have a couple of rotation of players, about 3 guys that can fit in and out if people are ruled in or not, because that really becomes the key if you're able to pivot to a guy. Now, yesterday our early only slate, we smashed it, and we got teased with Joel Embiid too. It was rough. So I had a 2v2 switch if Embiid got ruled out, and they said he was in. The light came on. He was green with the check mark, and then his shoulder stiffened up right before the game, and they pulled him. So we had to make the switch. We went to Dwight Howard, and we upgraded at guard to Drew Holiday. And, we smashed. We did well. But if Embiid plays, it was takedown city. It was a hard one. But I explain that to say I'm going to do a similar type strategy this afternoon as I did yesterday to see how it pans out with this Memphis rotation with Joval in or out. So I'll have multiple people in this last game of the afternoon slate so that I can make those pivots. As far as Portland goes, Lillard, McCollum, Powell, a lot of shot sharing all of a sudden with those three guys. They're all good. They're all playable, but they're all fairly expensive, and there's no guarantees which guy is going to get it done. I will say whoever Dillon Brooks is going to guard, I don't want them. I'm really impressed with what a dog Dillon Brooks is, man. He is an avoidable guy. He's like the Marcus Smarts, and there's only a handful of guys that you say, I don't want any part of that guy at all, and Brooks is one of them. So the question is, who is he going to guard? Is it Lillard, McCollum, or Powell? That's what we have to really determine. I went back and looked at some of the basketballreference.com of when different guys are on the floor, and there isn't a situation with Powell out there that we can reference with going against Brooks. So it creates a different dilemma here because whoever Brooks isn't on, I would like to attack, the Grayson Allen guy that he's guarding. So it may be a CJ McCollum day. I'm feeling that Brooks would probably go with Lillard or Powell. More than likely Lillard. I'm thinking CJ gets Jaw. If not, that's the $1 million question, because I want to avoid Brooks and attack Jaw. And so it's going to come down to those matchups to determine who my key play is at guard for Portland. So stay in touch with us on that. And if you want to follow this news up until lock, just join us at dfscoachtalk.com. All of our options to join are right there on our website. One click, you jump in, we'll get an alert and get you right into our Discord. And as we discuss these things with what I think is the best DFS community on the planet, we will, go through this and dissect it, figure out what's what, and talk that through with our Discord, get everybody playing the right roster. You also have an opportunity if you want to do a membership, not membership because you get it free with us, but if you want to sign up at betus.com.pa, they are a sponsor partner of us, of DFS Coach Talk. And you would deposit $149 into your brand new BetUS account. It has to be a new deposit. And you get to use that $149 there to bet on games or props or whatever you want to play. And with that, once you get a membership and it's through to BetUS, you just shoot us a note saying you joined and just tweet us at DFS Coach Talk, and we'll get you in our Discord, and you'll have a membership with us free until June 1st. So you have to use the promo code Coach Talk, all one word, no space, when you sign up at BetUS. And also, as we're about to transition to the main slate, please take a second, if you're watching this on YouTube, to just smash the heck out of that like button, the thumbs up button, and subscribe. We're really getting to a threshold that we've been a goal for us that we're aiming to. We're gaining on it, and we really appreciate if you'd subscribe and hit the little alarm button up in the corner so that you know when our podcast posts. So we really, really appreciate that. If you're listening to us audio-wise, where everywhere podcasts can be found, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, iHeart, on and on. So on any of those audio sites, take a second, a quick 5 stars, a quick comment, greatly, greatly appreciated. And, anything that goes up there, we'll respond to. And we do, on a monthly basis, choose one of those responses and give a free week of DFS Coach Talk. So if you have a second, please do that. All right, finishing up this Memphis-Portland game, the question is then, who do we want to look at on the Portland side beyond those guards? You've got Covington and Kyle Anderson, two great defenders, again, battling each other. And now, we have the situation where when these teams played the last time, just Nurkic and Cantor are really stepping up. And a lot of this has to do with that single news of Joe Val. Because if Joe Val's out again and they have to play downsize with Tillman and then a little Brandon Clark, it does open things wide open for Nurkic. Nurkic would be my choice between he and Cantor. I think Nurkic is a fine center on this slate. Very well could be my center here. If he stays out of foul trouble and gets that, 30 minutes of play, he really can light it up. But if Joe Val's in, his big presence inside, and rebounding the ball, downplays Nurkic for me on my list a bit. And, then I may pivot elsewhere. But let's get that news and stay with us in our Discord, and we'll keep you up to date on that. All right, how about we go to the 4-game main slate, which starts at 7 p.m., and it's Cleveland and Washington. Both teams on the first night of a back-to-back. Cleveland's 21-38, Washington is 26-33, and Washington is on a serious roll. I believe they've won 5 in a row. They're in the 10th spot in the playoffs, which is pretty amazing considering where they were. Again, both on the first night of a back-to-back. Will that affect anybody as far as playing minutes, etc.? I don't believe so, but we need to see that news. Right now, Washington's a big 9-point favorite. It's a 225.5 over/under. Washington's the fastest paced team in the league. Cleveland 24th. They will try to slow it down. Good news here, Cleveland's 21st defensively, and this stat really sort of blew me away because it's happened in a week. Washington's 15th. They're dead square in the middle, and there was a point, and I remember it very well. They were 30th, dead last, and then Sacramento moved to 30th. They jumped to 29th. They have spent the last month or so working their way all the way up to 15th. So kudos and hats off to that Washington team for getting it done. I think, picking up some of the players that they did and the rotation that they're now utilizing has really changed. So piling on Washington games every day because of their pace and their poor defense, well, it's not as bad as it was. So maybe, we have to be a little bit more, cognizant of the fact that Washington will get some stops now, and that does affect things a bit. As far as who's out, the monster news for Cleveland is Sexton is out, and that changes everything for them. And then Dotson is questionable. So shorthanded in the backcourt, which gives a big jump to Garland. And then Washington, Hashimura out. He will be out for a while. And right now, the probable lineups for Cleveland are Garland, Okora, Jetty, Love, and Allen. Washington's got Westbrook, Neto, Beal, Bonga, and Len. So, yeah, they started Bonga in Hashimura's spot, which was sort of a surprise. And Neto is playing that 2-guard with Beal at the 3. So, interesting shift of strategies here for Brooks. You never really know what he's going to do. I keep yelling from the rooftops for my man Gafford. I thought he'd get, 28 possible minutes last game. He got 16, so very disappointing. Not going to go there. Not going to play any of the Washington centers. You can't. He's playing a 3-man rotation with Len, half hook Lopez, and my man Gafford. So that's just untouchable for a DFS player. And I don't understand. I think Gafford brings more defensively, offensively, everything, energy, the whole 9 yards. But, I'm not the coach of that team. Brooks is, and that's a head scratcher to me. Bonga, unplayable commodity. Don't ever play him in DFS if he's the last guy on the floor. He just super inconsistent. So it comes down to the three guys, really. I mean, I don't trust Bertans off the bench. A lot of guys like to play him, but he's so 3-point dependent. It's almost insane. You know, he'll get 5 threes in a game and finish with 16 fantasy points. So no thanks. It really is Westbrook, Neto, and Beal. You know, I think Neto's a good play, and I played him last time, but he really let me down. So I'm a little hesitant there. You know, since Ish Smith's been back the last 10 days or so, it has been a direct hit to Neto, even though he's starting. So, you know, we're all about the same scenario that we are every day. It's Westbrook and Beal. How great of a spot are they in? We know that, Cleveland's backcourt isn't the best defensively. I think you're going to see Isaac Okoro, the young man on Beal, which I think is a decent defender. He really is. I know Beal will school him, but I think that with Westbrook getting to go against Garland and the likes, it's just this should be a 25-point triple double for Westbrook, in his sleep. So Westbrook's my favorite play on the slate. He's my pay up guy. He's going to start all of my lineups. I do like Garland on the other side as well. I think it's a nice correlation on the other side. You know, if the game stays close enough, when Sexton's out, Garland's usage just fires through the roof. He gets shots up. He runs the show. He delivers the ball well. We just need the game to stay close. Kevin Love, possible. You know, his price is sort of vacillated back and forth. He's pretty cheap. And the setup with Washington's really fast pace, I think he can have a nice game. Jared Allen, it depends on the minutes. There are times where he's playable. If they stay in this game, he could be a very sneaky center that doesn't have a lot of ownership. So a lot of interest in this game. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch and certainly will be one of the keys to the slate for me. All right, game 2 on this main slate game slate. It is Minnesota at Atlanta. Minnesota's 37-22. Atlanta's 33-27. It's the first night of a back-to-back for Atlanta, and they are really banged up. So this will be an interesting game. Milwaukee's only favored by 6.5. It's a 228 over/under. We've got pace of play Milwaukee 4th, Atlanta down to 23rd, and then we have Milwaukee 9th in pace or defense. I'm sorry, and Atlanta in 23rd. So Atlanta's 23rd in pace and defense, the double Michael Jordan number. So, is that an omen? We'll see. But here's the problem for Atlanta. Here's who's out: Hunter, Snell, Reddish, and some guy by the name of Trae Young. And then they have questionable Capella and doubtful Dunn. So if they're missing Young, Reddish, Hunter, Capella, those are 4 of their starters at the beginning of the season. Snell got a lot of starts. So they are very shorthanded. That's the big issue here. Milwaukee, on the other hand, is good to go. They've got the full deal here. No holdbacks. They're playing pretty tough ball. So we need to game script this a bit to figure out what's going to happen. The probable lineup: Holiday, DiVincenzo, Middleton, Antetokounmpo, and Lopez is regular. But here's the bang up group of Atlanta. Bogey, in honor of our wonderful basketball prognosticator, Mr. Andrew Hansen. We call him Dr. Bogey. He is going to be the main guy handling the ball, along with Kevin Huerter, who had a really great game last time out. They've dusted off Solomon Hill again. He's been playing some good minutes and becomes a playable value play. John Collins, who I think I've played John Collins like the last 17 times I've played him, I've been wrong. When I sit him, he goes nuts. When I play him, he doesn't do a thing. So I've thrown my arms up. We all have one or two of those guys in DFS that no matter what we do, no matter what the matchup is, we get it wrong. So, with Capella out the last game, I thought Collins really steps up at the center spot, but yeah, he didn't play huge minutes. He got some fouls. It was just a disaster. So Capella may play in this game. Certainly important to have that news. Not going to go with Capella or Collins anyway. And then they have some bigs off the bench that'll rotate in there. Gallo will get minutes, etc. It's all about Bogdanovich and Herter to me. They do get pretty tough defense in Drew Holiday. I think Holiday probably gets the Bogdanovich assignment now. Bogey's been tough, but his price is skyrocketed. It's literally double of where it was 6 weeks ago. So it becomes hard to play him, but it is a pace-up game. I'm not ruling him out. I think Bogdanovich and Herter both have to be considered, and one of them has to be played. Just too good of a spot, too much usage going their way with all the guys out. So may fire up both if I get frosty here. Holiday, playable, certainly. He's been very tough in prior weeks. Bogey and Herter are not known really for their defensive prowess, but their offensive side. So Holiday's in play for me. Don't really want to risk the DiVincenzo, sort of low ceiling, but a pretty low floor. He can get to his number, but I don't trust it. Middleton had an off game. Solomon Hill's a bit of a dog, and when he's on him, I think he can give him enough trouble. Giannis, certainly you can pay up for. For me, in building this slate, it was either you pay up for Westbrook or Giannis for me, because I don't want to go all stars and scrubs. I want a little bit more of a medium build. So I'm not going Giannis here. My concern is Milwaukee takes control of this game. I don't trust this banged up Atlanta team. They're due for a rough start. So, I'm not going hard on this game, especially with Milwaukee. They rotate guys, and they have usage. Portis will come in. He'll take the most shots maybe for a quarter. You get, guys like Connaughton, and Forbes. All these guys get in there and they fire. So I'm going to avoid Milwaukee, which may be a little contrarian, and go for Atlanta in the pace-up game with their backcourt and look at Bogdanovich and Herter. All right, 2 games remaining, and they're both very interesting. We've got an 8 Eastern, and then we have a true late-night hammer, late-night sweat game, and a phenomenal game at that to play, in my opinion, as far as Sacramento and Golden State at 10 o'clock. But let's get to the 8 o'clock. Indiana Pacers at 28-31 against the Orlando Magic at 18-14. You've got both situations here. Indiana on the second night of a back-to-back, coming off of a hard-fought fight last night. Orlando the first night of a back-to-back. It is Indiana minus 5.5, and it's a 224 over/under. And it's a laundry list of injured players here, all over the place. For Indiana right now, we have Bitadze probable, Sabonis probable, and we have Lamb probable, and Miles Turner out. So it looks like a lot of the Indiana guys are probably going to be back, but we need to follow that news. On the Orlando side, Ennis is questionable, as is Ross and Carter Jr. So more of just confusion there with this Orlando team that's just playing young guys and has already really packed it in. Indiana right now, it looks like Brogdon, LeVert, Holiday, Sumner, and Sabonis. Edmund Sumner coming off a monster game the last go around, so he may be plugged in there. And they do have some good bench players. I mean, if these guys are all ruled in, you're talking Lamb and Bitadze coming in at the bigs, and of course McConnell, who had one of his crazy games where he scored like 50 fantasy points because he had 5 steals and even had a block. So he's something else. So a little tougher with the depth there. I'm a massive Karis LeVert guy. I still love him here. He played a great game last time out. He and Sabonis get my initial attention. Brogdon has definitely turned it up as well, but is, really increased in price. A little worried about Sabonis on the minutes, not being 100%, and he's expensive as well. So you can always go value here if you want to go to a Sumner or Holiday or McConnell or someone like that. But my attention is going to be more on Levert, I believe, on the Indiana side. For Orlando, it's interesting. Cole Anthony, he has some solid games at point. Brogdon's a tough defender, though, so I'm not diving on that. Gary Harris, uh, you know, they're splitting minutes and they don't want to win ball games, so it makes it very difficult to figure out where to go there. Um, James Ennis may play, may not, so we don't know what that's going to roll. The only guy I've had confidence in, and he really has done well, is Chuma Okeke. He seems to be the guy they're featuring. He's getting a lot of the usage and getting a lot of the buckets up. Definitely like him. I think he fits into this game pretty well. And if I'm going a one-off on each side, which it's looking like, he would be my candidate there at a power forward spot. And then Wendell Carter Jr. has played well, but we're not sure if he's going to get solid minutes or even play. So we got to follow his news. And then Bamba has stepped up a bit. So there may be some rotation at the big there. It's probably the best to avoid. All right, we're going to the last game on the slate, and I'm excited about this game because it's a kind of matchup you got to really salivate over. It's Sacramento and Golden State. Sacramento's 24-35, Golden State 30-30, and Steph's number is 30. Interesting. Is there a thing with that? You never know. Stuff happens. Sacramento on the first night of a back-to-back. Golden State is on an island game. Golden State minus 8.5, 229.5 over under. We've got two super fast-paced teams in Sacramento 9, Golden State 2. So that's a big check mark. Sacramento's 30th. They've been 30th on defense for a long time. Golden State is 7th, but the up-tempo games still, their scores get up there. So all of those things fit into play for me. Sacramento's injuries, we have Holmes probable. So that's a big add back for Sacramento. And then the monster news, though, of the entire slate is Fox is out with COVID protocol, and he's been playing as good as anybody in the league. I'll take him as top 5 player in the league since the All-Star break, flat out. I mean, can't think of any way he'd be bumped from that list. And now they lose him for 7 to 10 days. So what is the ripple effect of that? We'll talk about. Bagley's still out, and they still could have had Luke over Bagley in the draft. Just to Kings fans, I apologize. Golden State has 3 guys out from their rotation. Yeah, it's a rotation. Bazemore, Lee, and Pascal are all out. So do we go for the 30, 30, and 30, Mr. Curry? Yeah, I love Curry here. Let's bring Curry on. I haven't played Curry a ton. I've been afraid of his injuries. I think everybody saw him limping around and everything. It was a bad tape job the last game. He wasn't as hurt as it looked. He had a bad tape job. They had to switch it, fix it. And believe me, I've done a lot of that taping, and I've had my ankles taped. And if you get something pinching off and squeezing the wrong way, you can't play with it. It's like having an injury. So I think he's okay, and he's on such a damn roll. It's not even funny. I like Curry as my second pay up guy with Westbrook. You can get away with 2 pay ups and still have somewhat of a medium build after that, because there are a few good value plays. I just think he shows here. I think it's the late night. It's the only game. The question is, does it blow out? Golden State is an 8.5-point favorite. I don't feel like this is just a flat out blowout game. And I know without Fox, Sacramento could just completely dismantle. I mean, they're 11 games under 500. They have probably the worst coach in the league. But they do get Rashawn Holmes back, and that's the thing that talked me into really wanting to go with Curry, because Holmes is a difference maker, especially with Golden State being poor at center, with Wiseman being out and just Looney and a mixture there, and Draymond playing five some of the time. I just think they stay in the game enough for this to be a shootout. So there's some great plays in this game. I think Halliburton getting big minutes, having to take over in Fox's footsteps, I don't think it's going to intimidate this kid very much. I really don't. And if Curry's guarding him, which I think he will be, that's certainly not Steph's strong suit. So I'm not afraid to fire up Halliburton here. He's one of those rookies that doesn't play like a rookie. He plays like he's been around. And I think he rises to the occasion. And with his price, I think he's a good deal. Buddy Hield and Wiggins, those two guys are always enough to drive you nuts because they can break a slate, both of them. But they both can bury your lineup. I've seen both of them go for 50, and I've seen both of them go for 15. So, how lucky do you feel on those guys, and how much do you think they'll get it done? I think they're both options, but they're not quite in my player pool right now. There are two super value guys in this game that I think are playable, and they're against each other. Mo Harkless and Michael Mulder. Now, Mulder's a bit of a risk. He's more of a GPP play, but I think you got to discuss him because with some of the guys that they have out, it becomes, a little bit more of a run for him. Now, the guy that stepped up the last game and blew it out, and probably the better play than Mulder, is Poole. He came off the bench and went nuts, but he was absolutely unconscious. And for him to follow that up, not as confident in. So really in cash, probably not going to play either one of those guys, but in GPPs, I'll take a look. But Mo Harkless, I think, he's played well the last month for them. He's athletic. He plays good D. Just a stinky guy that you can get super cheap, that can get to value and help you with a path to get into some of the more expensive guys. Two guys I'm considering, again, head to head here, Barnes and Draymond Green, both, putting up some stats, not the cheapest guys in the world, that medium build level. I think they're both in definite consideration for me. Not crazy about the Holmes play. I hope he gets 20, 25 minutes in order to help keep this game close. But just coming back from injury and having Whiteside as a backup, not as comfortable going there. And I think I've made it clear how I feel on Looney and that group of Loonies at the bigs for Golden State. So a lot of possible exposure here. Definitely the most important game for me on the slate. And I think that wraps it up. So hopefully that gives you a chance to get into both slates. We were able to cash on both NBA early and evening slates last night. I'll tell you though, the last night was amazing to me on the evening slate, and I'll close with this. Our team was crushing it all night. Finished at 358.4, which you bust 350 on a 6-game slate. You think you're doing pretty good. Now, this is why it's so important. And what you'll find if you join us at Coach Talk, we teach a process, not just playing the games and giving you the guys. We teach a process because I'll tell you right now, 60% of winning in DFS has to do with bankroll management and contest selection. If you don't master those two things, you could play 9 Westbrooks and you're going to find a way to lose because you have to have that piece of it. The reason I say that is the 358.4 or whatever it was, it didn't make it in my $50 and $100 single entry. It missed by a point or two, which is like mind bending when you think of that number on a little bit of a smaller main slate, but it did hammer away in all the cash games. So that was the key, balance it. If you chase the $100,000 hits, easy to have to reload. So come aboard with us, dfscoachtalk.com. We're going to have a session this coming Saturday at noon Eastern where we talk strictly about contest selection. And then the following Saturday about bankroll management. We meet with our entire group here, our community, anybody that wants to join in every Saturday. And again, we just try to look beneath the surface of this. And our goal at Coach Talk is long-term success and sustainability of building a bankroll and not reloading. And that's, 87% of people that play DFS don't do that. They reload, go for the big milli makers, and really, if you want to sustain, most of us don't have, $100,000 to invest in a slate every slate. So you got to be smart. But anyway, wanted to mention that because we'd love to have you join us. I hope this gives you a really good feel for the slate on this Sunday, and we hope you crush it. So good luck to you. Let's get it done, and let's make some money. And I'll be back tomorrow. We're 7 days a week in front of the paywall for our NBA podcasts, and I will be back with the man, the myth, the legend, the recent 121K winner, Mr. Andrew Hansen, on Monday. So thank you again for listening. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow when we look to crush it in DFS.